there was a billboard in downtown Phoenix of my mom, like, you know, promoting their website, and she's in her like little like teeny bikini and making her sex face. They hadn't told me anything. It was kind of like they would, you know, that it was weird, but he would be like, oh, there she is. Look at her. And it's like, there's my mom. And I was like, oh my God.
Okay, well, thanks for tuning in to the Redacted podcast. We have our guest here in the studio today who's agreed to come on. She's got a hell of a story. She's anonymous. We got Pamela back there. She's running the soundboard, the video board. She's been sworn to secrecy, so she won't reveal your identity. I won't. But thank you for coming on. You know,
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
You had kind of a strange story, and something that kind of caught me about it was like, okay, so your story was my parents were porn stars, which is
unrelatable in a lot of ways.
Unrelatable, yeah. I mean, and I think what kind of catches me is most people look at their parents like, I don't even think my parents have sex.
Right.
I don't think they've had sex since they made me. And here you are, growing up. You said growing up with a...
Yeah, from the time I was 5 to about 17.
Wow. 5 years old.
5 years old, yes. That's when it all began.
Okay.
They were both critical care nurses at a really well-known hospital in Arizona. And basically in 1999, they were fired from their jobs and put on suspension for having their own website that just had nude pictures of my mother. They were fired because employees came to like the supervisor saying that they were trying to recruit them for their new porn site.
So wait, so this is, you're 5 years old at this point.
I'm 5 years old, yes. Whenever the story went, it made national news. Headlines like they were on Fox Files 2020, The O'Reilly Factor, Howard Stern. They had a little article in Rolling Stone magazine. Honestly, all it did was promote it and market the website more because they were charging $14.95 a month.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 1999, this was like the beginning of internet porn. There was no Pornhub. There was no YouTube. Yeah. And so, I mean, this is the era of Jenna Jameson. They were actually like frenemies. And
frenemies.
Yeah, I was told, my dad actually told me when I was like in high school, he's like, oh yeah, the reason why we didn't get as big as Jenna is because we had children. Or like, you know, I mean, like we couldn't like, I was like, okay,
travel
cool.
and
right. Yeah. Travel, make it really more public. I mean, you know, and have like, you know, your, just your merch, like they.
So let's back up just a little bit, because I mean, you kind of glazed over something that's. So they were working as nurses, registered nurses.
Okay, yeah.
In a hospital, and I guess the claim was that they were trying to recruit the other employees to be in their porn.
Correct.
So how long had they been shooting it by the point? You don't know.
Not sure. Not long though.
Okay, so this was like a side hustle.
They said the reason
why
they were making it around. They were making around $100,000 a year combined in 1999.
That's decent money.
Yeah, we were living well.
Yeah.
Not above our means, not below our means.
Nice house, suburb.
Yeah.
Some kind of okay.
And they.
So somebody found out about that.
Yes. So they were the whole thing was, it was like a morals clause. So, you can get fired for
Yeah.
things you do on your off time. And that's what
Yeah.
it made like a big hit. It was the first of this kind of story. And, you know, I found out because I was about 6 years old from watching. I would always watch like the home VHS tapes of like us, as me little baby, like Christmases and all that thing. And I was like, well, I'd watch them every day, but I found I found unmarked VHSs in the
The
back.
old
Yeah.
unmarked VHS, man.
Yeah. And I turned on, it's my mother sitting there in a short skirt on a late night talk show. Like with like, like it was actually the O'Reilly Factor is what,
Wow.
what it was. And yeah, it's my mom and my dad sitting there. It was my dad there too. And just like acting, I'd never seen her act like that. I mean, but I have, but like, it was like the way that she puts herself onto
Her
like,
persona.
yeah, like she really plays into that whole dumb blonde.
Like the old Pamela Anderson kind of Jenna
exactly.
Jameson.
That is the look. That's the look. That was the look. That was it.
And that's what people wanted, I suppose, in some way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or expected.
Right.
But she wasn't
looked
like that.
If you looked at it, no, she was. She was.
Oh,
but like I'm saying, like, for instance, if I was sick for school, right, and I couldn't go into school, you have to call the school and like, here she's talking to me, here, like, normal voice on the phone. Hi.
Oh.
This is so-and-so's mother. Like, but like, and just like then hang up the phone.
Well, every mom has a phone voice.
But it's like, yeah, you know what I mean?
That was the thing
voice.
back in the day. Mom's got the phone voice.
Right.
Where she's like yelling at you, and then she picks up the phone, her friend's, and she's like, hi, how are you? Yeah.
I remember realizing that something was kind of off because they said they were nurses to me. They never disclosed to me what was going on. To this day, I never was told or sat down and said, hey, this is what we do. Yeah. And they told my older brother because he was 11, I was 5. And, the whole time, though, they're not going to the hospital. They had another house, another location where they would go and shoot. So they wouldn't do it.
So is this after they got fired?
Yes, after they got fired. Because after that, it really like took off because with that much publicity, they were like the first 3 months they had 53,000 subscribers paying $14.95 a month.
Jeez.
And it just went. It skyrocketed. Around their peak was around 2005, 2006, and this was the 90s. So like and they were millions. They made millions.
Wow.
Yes, they lost millions too, but they made millions.
Well, that's how it goes.
Exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. Easy come, easy go.
Absolutely.
So, and to kind of back up there a little bit too. So, I mean, obviously they probably, and I mean, you were young, you can't suppose this, I guess, but it's an interesting question. Like they got fired for their business. It was probably the best thing that happened because, I mean, did they probably approached the media like with their, righteous sword, like we got fired for this shit. But I mean, one, it's a good story. Two, that's a lot of publicity.
Right. I mean, and then the reasoning too, that they would be like, oh, we were just doing it for some extra side cash. We would have been happy with $200 extra a month, honestly. And we really wanted to save up for our college education for our kids.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh man. So 5 or 6 years old, now this is like everyone knows this and everyone knows your parents and like you were saying earlier, like teachers and other kids and stuff like that are seeing this now.
Right. So, and to piggyback off of that.
Oh, sure.
Did my parents pay for my college education? No, they lost everything before I even graduated high school. So was it really worth it? But
maybe they thought about it. They thought about it for a minute.
Right. What were you asking again? I'm sorry.
So at 5 or 6 years old, you're kind of, are you hearing the whispers and the snickers and the...
Yes.
That kind of...
Yes. I only had... So I would go to school and I thought I was like the biggest freak weirdo. I was bullied really hard. Like I was called the ugly duckling. And also all of the people. I was never invited to any birthday parties, any sleepovers. I would see all the other kids going, and I just never was, at, because the kids were told by their parents
Yeah.
not to associate with me because I'm a bad influence based on what my parents did, which I understand completely. Why would you want your kid to be around potential exposure that is not? No, that's just not
They
it.
viewed it as,
They viewed it as
judged
exactly
or
what it as they
viewed it
yes
as,
what it was.
Yeah.
And CPS got involved.
And that's just to stop there. I get it, but that's a little fucked up because that's a kid.
Right. And I didn't really know that was the reason. I had no idea they knew.
I feel like someone could be in just, maybe that's this day and age. I don't know. I feel like somebody could be in porn and your kids could play with it. Like
nowadays, definitely. With OnlyFans and all of that, like with people, it's more.
Yeah.
It's more. But
I feel like people are a lot less. I don't know.
There's always going to be haters, no matter what, when you're in that line of work for too. But
and just in the industry in general,
right?
Not good or bad. It's something that exists that people want to buy, and people can be very successful and happy with it. And it just seems like a lot of that's coming to a little more understanding. Maybe is a good thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why it's an industry that will exist. And people will do it, and people will pay for it no matter what. Mm-hmm. And some people probably do a great job with it and have nice lives and,
mm-hmm.
Save their money and build some kind of a business off of it. And that's great. And I don't know, it just seems really fucked up. And I know that's, I don't know, maybe old fake righteousness that people had. And maybe you have to think too. And your story is, but just with that situation where your parents do work in porn,
right.
It's like, all the other moms and stuff, or there's got to be like a hint of jealousy, or there's got to be this like, oh, we're going to judge them because we can, but really we're just insecure and jealous and close-minded.
Right. Well, this was happened, we lived in a suburb neighborhood, and like there was a big community mailbox, you'd walk to the mailbox and they put someone put a paper printed out, and it had a picture of my mom, and it says come CUM to my house, and it had little pull tabs at the bottom with our address on it.
Oh jeez.
Yeah,
that's fucked up.
And I would get people calling our house, and I answered once, and it was me and my brother home alone. That happened often, and my older brother would be in charge of babysitting me, and someone called me. I answered the phone, and they're like, "Are your parents home?" I'm like, "No." I was young,
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, hung up the phone real quick. "You can't say that." Like,
jeez.
Yeah, because he's like, and then it became scary, and I didn't feel safe. I didn't trust them, because they're lying to me. I know they're lying, and I was so scared to even say anything because.
Well, did you really even understand what was going on?
I didn't even know what really sex was yet, but I knew that I could hear the noises. I could hear the slapping noises, the moaning.
So they were filming this stuff at home.
They were, they must have filmed some content there. They had to have, because I could hear it, but also too, I could hear the editing my dad would be doing on his laptop. And then in our backyard, he would be in his recliner, and when he leaned back, it would open up the blinds, and so I could peek in and see behind him.
That's fucked up.
And that's how I seen. That's how I know my mom.
A little more discreet,
right? Well, that's how I found out my mom collaborated with Ron Jeremy.
Because you saw it through.
I could hear. She'd be like, "Hey, Ron."
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But you didn't know who Ron Jeremy was.
No. But my brother had a photo of him, of his headshot, like a pic, with a whole
like a signed picture.
Yes.
With
Yeah.
Ron Jeremy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The hell did you get that?
Because she collabed with him. He was involved. He was put into it, but since I was a girl, I guess too, my dad had.
You mean he was led into it? not put
exposed
into
to it more
Yeah,
than
yeah.
me, I would say, because of his age, him being older. All of his friends loved him. Like, he was the man because, like, his mom was hot. I was
Jeez.
I was disgusting and a whore because my mom was hot,
Yeah. Well,
you know?
I think that, I mean, and a little off track, but that kind of brings up an interesting point of like male female dynamics, like the
Yeah.
cattiness, the jealousness that women can,
Oh, yeah,
even
absolutely.
girls, like insecurity. And then dudes are just like, heck yeah, good job.
Right.
Like that's kind
Absolutely.
of
I mean,
that's a
right.
funny example of
Like,
that.
when I got older, not to get off track real quick, but like getting older and being a teenager, trying to figure out who I am as a woman, or, as a girl, a woman,
Yeah.
I would get, my dad would be like, "You're just so jealous of your mom and it's showing." I'm like, "Jealous? She bought the same outfit as me from Aeropostale and like trying to act like she's my sister. I'm not
Oh, jeez.
jealous." Jealous? I think, like, yeah, I get it. Like,
Aeropostale. Are those open anymore?
I don't even know, man.
Was it Aeropostale or was it
Yeah, I think
Aeropostale?
that's like the fancy way. It's like the,
That was a fancy store.
oh
There
yeah,
was
it was expensive.
there was like LFO and
And that's the thing too. Like, I mean, I was spoiled rotten, but I know now that I was trying to get their attention in any way possible, and I would be a brat. They would give me anything I wanted materialistically, but what I needed was emotional connection. I was completely shut off at that young age, like none.
they just kind of kept you in the
It
dark.
was
So
all
then,
fake. Like,
what about
so, yeah.
like bullying, like
Mm.
of you,
They,
like by other kids? Was there
oh, well, yeah. I mean, I was,
elements of that?
yeah, like I touched on that a little bit. Like,
Like, how did that progress? How did that go? Did it stop at some point when you got older? Did the story ever die down?
so, all right. Whenever, in elementary school, as I was getting older, I would say about like maybe fifth grade, that's whenever I moved to a different school and people knew there too, even though we were like 45 minutes away, they knew. And this was a uppity
This
neighborhood.
like 4 or 5 years later.
Right. And this is when they're getting more money. They like built a $700,000 home, their dream home, then bought another
Oh, wow.
$1.3 million home
Oh, wow.
in the desert. And, I was, so for instance, I had a friend who lived right next door to me. And one time it took her a while to ask me, or she's like, so and so told me that your mom and dad are porn stars. And I would get like so defensive. Oh, no, 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 no. No, they're not. I promise. They're not. They're not. I know. I get that a lot. People have been saying that, but like it looks like her, but it's not her.
This is 5th grade.
This is around fifth
And if
grade.
you could even understand what a porn star is.
Right. I mean, at that time I knew what a porn
You
star
kind of
was,
understood.
but like, right. And so I knew people talked about it amongst themselves behind my back. A lot of people wouldn't approach it or say anything, but they would treat me differently for sure. But then sometimes it would be brought up by like one other friend to be like, or and so whenever, right around that age, right around 7th grade, my dad, I was like 13. My dad approached me with, would you like to move to Texas or Florida? Because really, I don't want you to enter high school and go to a party and, get raped because they want to know if you can do it as good as your mom.
Oh, shit.
And so that was him telling me, that was the only time that I was told like what they're doing, kind of like what they were doing.
That's a fucked up way to put it.
And I said, well, Florida,
Yeah.
duh, never even been there, but yeah, moved to Florida. And so they tried to start over completely. They tried to reinvent themselves, right? Didn't really know what that looked like, just wanted to get away from the exposure because, I mean, there was a billboard in downtown Phoenix of my mom, like, promoting their website, and she's in her like little like teeny bikini and making her
Oh, geez.
sex face. And my dad would brag a lot too. He would like to show off things, and of how, like, they would do things behind the scenes, like, how they would make things work, like for different scenes, like as far as
So was he like doing the
my dad was a
production?
producer. Yeah, he was a producer, but he's also, I've just learned this. He would be like behind the camera watching my mom have sex with some other guy, or my dad would be the one having sex with my mom. And also too, he created a whole empire. He had a whole slew of other porn stars underneath, like their umbrella, that he had like like 6 different sites.
So they would make content and he would basically like market it and post it.
Correct. Yeah. He also ran her Twitter and ran her just her social media, and
he did the business.
Right. And so whenever we moved to Florida, my mom
at 13.
13,
Okay.
my mom became a sales employee at the local sports authority, making $7.25 an hour. And
What?
Because they went bankrupt too. I forgot to mention that. They were
Okay.
$3 million in debt. So starting over, meaning like we couldn't
How
have
the
no
fuck
debit
did
cards,
that
no credit
happen?
cards. I don't know. That's still a mystery to me. I have no idea. They honestly, it's hard for me to.
Bad business decisions.
They got really materialistic, really, really. They would buy just too much. I mean, you don't need a $1.3 million home. We already have a $700,000 home that's too big that you pay people to clean it. And I don't even sit in most. I don't. Does anyone even sit in that room? What's that for?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, what is it? What is the obsession with? Really, I mean, I guess it's like keeping up with the Joneses, but like they were the Joneses in their mind. So they just like where they lost all of their money. And then so we moved to Florida. My dad would be like, look at all these credit cards I had. It's like a stack like 4 inches high. And I didn't understand it then either. Even at that age, I didn't really understand like what
What do
and
you
why.
think that was about?
He's proud
That he's got a lot of credit cards?
that he like was able to accrue.
Built his credit?
Yeah, well that, but no, like just like the money and the because they reached a lot of success with it. I mean, that to them it was the coolest thing ever, because that was a quote by my mom in one of the articles. We just thought it would be a cool thing to do. So, it must have been cool because, to have security guard for you, and, you're walking through like the Venetian and Vegas and at the porn convention, and you have a fucking presidential suite. You have all these people wanting your autograph pictures with you. I mean, dang. I mean, that, they let it definitely, they
Go
got
to
off.
their heads?
Well, yeah, of course. Like, and God also, religion was not a thing in my home. And that's how kind of how
So you
I
weren't
was-
the church? Yeah.
Right. No, I didn't. I like wanted to because I wanted some normalcy. They wouldn't let me go. They were like, no, we don't
So
do
you
that.
wanted to go to church?
I actually was at TGI Fridays at dinner with them once, and I was young. I was like I was young, like around that age, like 7. I was like, I want to go to Sunday school or vacation Bible school or whatever my grandma was telling me about. And they were like, oh, well, we don't do that stuff. And I was like, what? Why? And they're like, we don't. And, because they didn't want to get judged going to church. Because they didn't want to go to church either. They were their own gods. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how they lived their life.
Well, and if they did, they probably wouldn't be treated well.
Right. Exactly. So people would come up to us and,
Church isn't a place for,
right.
especially then. I think churches have come a long way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but back then, it was a place to go and look like you were
Had it all together and
look
doing
like you
the right
had it all
thing.
together.
Yeah.
Like, look at me, I have God, I have it all together. Look how
Yeah.
nicely we're dressed.
And so, like, for instance, there was a girl across the street, my neighbor, who I went to school with, and her parents didn't even let them celebrate Halloween. They were that Christian. Yeah, here they are across the street
It's like
from
some Jehovah shit.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so across the street from, I really had no whenever I tell you, like I could do whatever I wanted, honestly, like because they didn't pay attention enough to like they were busy making their money, you know, and
So the biggest thing you were lacking was maybe just communication and attention and time. Is that
and love,
love?
unconditional love, because unconditional standards were placed onto me that I never really understood. They were all like, you know, superficial things. It was like you can't. Like, you know how it feels to get like an "Atta girl, like keep it up, I'm proud of you," how
Yeah.
good it feels, right? Well, just imagine like the opposite and being told like, you know, it's just one of those things that really make you feel bad about yourself. And it's like, why am I doing wrong that I can't
They were
make
harsh
them?
or had high standards.
Yeah, like
or
they would
just,
make fun of me. And mind you, I'm getting bullied at school too. So
this is through grade school, junior
yes,
high, and all
yeah.
that.
hmm And I did, when I was in fifth grade math class, I got suspended for the first time for drawing male genitalia. Had to go get sent home to school. Yeah, the principal calls my parents down to the office, or calls them to the office, while she goes through this flip picture book of each individual page. I had drawn a different wiener. Like it was like big ones, small ones, like chodes. And I like colored it and everything, like, and I like had it, threw it away. Anyways, it was found, and it was, you know, I got in trouble. And so my dad's like pointing at the dick. Like, mind you, the principal knows what they do for a living too. And so my mom's like, or my dad's like, "This is unacceptable." And I'm just like, you know,
Yeah.
and back now, no, now, like I know they had a good laugh about that one. You know, my brother gave me the name Wiener Doodler, and that stuck for a couple of years. But
The wiener dude.
Wiener Doodler, yeah. But so coming to Florida, yeah, isn't that great? Coming to Florida was a fresh start, and nobody knew over here. It wasn't as big as they were there. Okay, so nobody knew.
The internets and social media weren't quite in full swing then.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I got to start over and be someone different, and I got treated completely different. I don't like the word popular, but I had friends, people.
You had friends, you were accepted.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I ended up becoming close friends with this one boy, and ended up confiding and telling him, like, you know, because I had to keep it all a secret. That my parents said, if you tell anyone, that's on you. If you want to go through whatever, that's on you.
But your brother seemed to have.
My brother
done
stayed
all
in
right
Arizona.
with that.
My brother stayed in Arizona. He left whenever he was 17, got married.
Yeah.
And never, that's the last, I mean, he didn't see me grow up in that way. Like, so he stayed in Arizona. So now I'm an only child. You know what I mean? And my brother was the one that they praised, the one that he could do no wrong. So you know what I mean? Now all of a sudden, like, it's on me. And I confided in this friend, and he then told me he liked me. And I said, "Oh, I thought we were just friends." So and that broke his heart, and then told everybody. And
that's some junior high shit.
Oh yeah, this was my freshman year of high school.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it affected my relationship with my boyfriend at the time. You know, he came up to me one day and he was like, "So why did this person why were they saying that your mom was a porn star?" He's like, "I almost punched him in the face because I know that's not true. But like, why does he would even say that?" And I'd be like, "I have no idea." I was so scared to lose that relationship because of that. And I also didn't want him to look her up, because that would hurt my feelings. Like, why don't, like, if you're going to like it, you know what I mean? So I didn't tell him until after we were married, but it's what it is. But like, so yeah. So then the bullying though, you know, I was called I was nasty. I was a slut. I lost my virginity before. I mean, like, I didn't even lose my virginity, but people had said like they had sex with me. You know, someone even wrote in the back of a toilet in the boys' room, I had sex with my name, and on this toilet. I spelled toilet wrong, but never even been in the boys' bathroom. So it's like, you know, that's like more of the ending of the bullying and what, you know, the cause and effect of that.
Let me ask this. So outside of what they did, so say just hypothetically, you can suppose on this and reflect back on all this. But with the bullying, suppose they did it, but they were really kind, supported, loving, understanding, and gave you maybe the tools to understand that. Do you think that would have made it a lot easier?
Oh, hell, yeah, of course.
Like maybe it's not the job as much as the way that they handled it. Like we had kids. I mean, I'm in junior high school. We had kids with the nastiest, grossest, weirdest, fucking stupid rumors and bullshit. And she's a slut. And oh, this guy's masturbating in the bathroom and like just dumb shit. And the one thing I noticed is as you watch people, some people handle it and some people don't. And a lot of that is probably in their parenting and their raising. Because two people can get the same rumor, but it's like, if you have the tools, I feel like it wouldn't matter. Like you could almost lean into something or like, yeah, whatever. But that would have made it totally different for you.
Yeah, I think so. If I had known.
If they would have sat you down and been like, listen, this is what we do. We make good money at it. We're good at it. This is our thing. People don't understand this. And that's their problem. And people are going to judge you.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but like, this is, and we're here for you. And we always got our family. And if they just gave you some of that.
Oh, yeah, that would have been excellent. I wouldn't even, honestly, because.
Would you say all the difference in the world? Just that's a.
Yeah, I would think so. Because I mean, I don't blame. I mean, I don't agree with the choices they made. Because they didn't need to do it. It's not like they were hurting for money. They had enough money. They had good careers. They really just, I don't know. It's kind of like that. I really don't understand because why risk it?
Yeah.
Why? You have a family, And then not only that, what choice, where did you guys agree that it would be okay or a good idea to lie to your daughter, your child, who obviously would be getting affected by this? You're stupid to not. They're very naive.
Especially when you go to the media.
Right.
Especially when.
I mean, I guess CPS got involved wanting, got involved, checked because it wasn't like they were expecting to walk in and see, sex swings and dildos, but no, it wasn't like that.
House.
Right, it's a normal house until you open a couple drawers in their bedroom, but that's normal. Anybody, exactly. They really did. That's one thing that I do commend them on. They weren't shooting, next to my bedroom. That what happened when I was in high school though is after she got a job at Sports Authority, she didn't last very long. So me being young, I'm like 14 ish, talking with my dad. And he's like, your mom got robbed today at work out of her Louis Vuitton bag. She had $40 cash and somebody stole it. And, that really broke my heart because here's this woman is trying to restart her life. And it's hard because you're making pennies to what you were just used to. You were living this life of,
why did they start
luxury.
Why didn't they go back to that?
They did, in a way.
Okay.
They went to cam modeling or cam girl stuff, live sex on the internet stuff. So with the backing of her porn career, she had a lot of fans. So she would make a lot of money doing that. And so I agreed. I actually I shared an office with my dad. We both had a computer and a desk. And we agreed I'll move my desk and computer into my room so that they can use that office space as her studio. It was right next door to my bedroom.
So you understood at this point.
I understood at this point. Okay. And now I'm involved. I'm involved in the way that they were like, we're gonna get you some over the ear headphones and we'll let you know whenever she's starting and let you know when it's over. And she would get wasted doing it, So she would do it for like hours and hours and hours because she would be making, but I could hear the cha-ching, cha-ching,
Yeah.
cha-ching, cha-ching. If I took my headphones off, which I really, really tried not to, or if the song was skipping or the thing died or whatever was going on, I would be like, la, 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 because I could hear it. I could hear it and it would make me want to throw up because it was just like, so my relationship with sex was very, very weird.
That part's definitely distasteful. Like go
Yeah.
rent a Regis office or
Right.
something.
And it's like, yeah. And so my dad at the time, then he actually became a drunk at 35. He started drinking at like 33. He became a drunk after like losing it all. And like, but then he got out, snapped out, cleaned up a bit,
So your
started a
parents
job
are
as a
pretty
parent.
young? I mean, comparatively? Like what age were they when they had you?
My mom was 25.
When she had you?
Yeah. My dad's like the same
medium.
age as her, or like a year older.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So,
That's young nowadays.
right.
25. Yeah.
What was I saying?
Wasn't back then. You were talking about when she would work in the office.
Oh, yeah. Right. So,
And this is through high school.
right. Yeah. This is high school. So here I am keeping this a secret, but like I said, cat's out of the bag. People are whispering, people talk. Even my best friends, I would lie to them too. Cause they would be like, yo, so, ask me the question. I'll be like, no. Cause she had a tattoo on one of her tits. Like, and like, so you could definitely tell it's her. I mean, but, so I couldn't have friends over. Too embarrassing. My dad's a drunken asshole one too. Like literally, like going in public with him was humiliating because I'd be mortified. He would be like, talking to people like he was just an asshole, And at 15, I mean, he was so bad, such a slob. I was convincing my mom to leave him, and then they throw me into the middle of their bullshit and make me their mediator, trying then to also get I don't really know. Like, my dad started going with, oh, well, your mom, she never told you about sucking Travis's dick in Vegas, did she now? And I was like, what? And then my dad and my mom would be like, oh, yeah, well, you remember Chandler or that's not her name, but her friend from grade school, he fucked her mom. I was like, a lot. And I was like, okay, well.
So they're just doing this. They're just
Like
doing this back
this
and forth
open,
shit.
right. And then so this just like the exposure of this, I accepted it more now because I knew what was going on.
Now you're in on it.
Right. I know. My dad would show me his camera tricks. I mean, he showed me, he's like, hey, check this out. He brings out, it's like a plastic tube with a pump at the end, and he put conditioner and a little bit of water, shook it up. He's like, this is the way I can get a lot of cum shots. Like, yeah.
I knew those were fake.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's really, really proud about it. I remember like my mom was on the billboard, the drive, I was 11, and we're going, towards downtown. And then he's like, I have a surprise for you. And they hadn't told me anything. It was kind of like they would, it was weird, but he would be like, oh, there she is. Look at her. And it's like, there's my mom. And I was like, oh my God. Like what? But
what weirds me out more about that is that somebody used a billboard for a website.
hey,
That's
yeah.
it's like the late 90s for you or something.
My dad was really good with the internet too, like really good. Like he actually even opened a brick and mortar teaching people how to use the internet when it first came out. Like you could take an internet class.
Huh.
Yeah. So he was really well equipped, and yeah.
He was an early adopter.
Yeah. And yeah.
Well, and I mean the fact that they even
He's really
got
good at creating
into
websites,
the online. I mean that was
right. My whole family
they
found
were
out.
innovators. They just
Right.
learned how to. I think it was only a few years before that they figured out how to send money on the internet. It was a big challenge. They had the internet for all these years, and you couldn't pay for anything or buy anything.
It's wild, right? Wild.
And then, and I forgot who did it, but somebody like created a way that you could electronically like put in your credit
they
card.
definitely were. Yeah.
I mean, that
doing
was brand new. That was a couple years old in 1999.
Yeah. It they were in the right place at the right time as far as that market goes. You know what I mean?
So, and just kind of, I mean, you went through high school.
I ended up getting married so
Moved
I
out
told
at
my
some point.
parents, right. What happened was is I'd always too would do like the opposite of what they told me to do because I didn't want to end up like them. I knew that much. I really didn't
Yeah.
like them that much. Loved them as my parents.
Well, and kids do that.
Right.
Kids
Right.
will hopefully
I was really
spot the good
rebellious.
things and take the good things and see the bad things. And,
Right.
But sometimes we go extreme.
Right.
You know, sometimes you get a kid with, pastor parents, and then they end up, going on to be having a rough life, and vice versa. I mean, I've known kids and friends and people who had, shit parents and a shit upbringing, and they ended up being like super upstanding, smart, intelligent, successful, and moral.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of weird how we take those opposites sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Parenting's fucked up, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
You can
yeah.
be the best parent
They
in the
did
world.
the best that they could to their, ability.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't blame them. Like
I've seen
they tried
great
their
parents
best.
with shit kids and
Right.
shit parents with great kids.
Right.
I mean, even as a parent now, like I got girls that are grade school age. And it's like you see these fantastic parents and their kids are just shits.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. Like these horrible, neglectful parents, and then they have these like really polite, or these kids that just went through crazy shit. And they're super polite and respectful and intelligent. And you're like, man, what the fuck is the secret here? How do you,
Right.
and when you have kids, you're like, how the fuck do I do this?
Right.
There's no answers.
Right.
And
it's whenever
tough.
I presented, I was 16 when I had said, hey, I want to get married. My my boyfriend was in the Army. He went into the Army and they said, you can get married as long as you're 17 and have your high school diploma. So I dropped out of public school the first week of my junior year, enrolled into an accelerated credit retrieval program, and graduated as salutatorian 1 year early and got married because that was the deal. He said, if I graduated with if I got my high school diploma and I'm 17, let me get married. My birthday is in March, and by April I was married. And I had a therapist later tell me that was my way of running away.
Yeah.
Getting away, you know what I mean? Because I really didn't understand why I got married, why so young, why. But then it made sense more. But yeah.
So to kind of just fast forward, I guess. I think you said that when we were speaking earlier. So in your adult life now, you haven't had much of a relationship with him.
No, because
anymore.
Right, yes. It's gotten to that point. And over the past, I'm 29 now, but over the past 10 years, I've struggled with a pretty gnarly heroin addiction. My brother is a severe alcoholic. He just had 2 years sober and just relapsed recently. I mean, he had, at 32, cirrhosis of the liver, severe pancreatitis.
Fuck, that's
yeah,
young.
and like in the ICU all the time. And, if you drink alcohol again, you're going to die. And, in their minds, it's us only. And, it's like, my mom told me I was actually in the military myself. Later on, I tried to like escape or try to get out, try to save myself because I was using the heroin, but I didn't have a record. So I was able to kind of weasel my way in and thought that would make things better. But wherever you go, there you are. And if you have that kind of monkey on your back, it needs to be fed. So
you've had a pretty
right.
tough road in your adult life.
Right, in my adult life. Yeah.
And
it's been
no longer have a relationship with
no longer have a relationship with them because, and that's okay. I'm at peace with it. And that's just for now. Who knows what's down the line?
Exactly.
I've had to accept that they're never going to say they are sorry. They're never going to say, I wish we would have done things differently. They're never going to say.
Isn't that fucked up that people can't do that?
It is fucked up. I've also, what it's taught me is to just own my shit.
Yeah.
If I fuck up, I want to know.
The only
So,
person you can control is yourself,
right.
too. And that's the fucking weird thing that takes people so long to realize. It's like, you may never get an apology.
Right.
You can't make someone do something.
And I've been blessed too, though, with other woman figures, because I just had really bad mommy issues. I had daddy issues too, but me and my dad were tighter. Me and my mom just, oh gosh, it was bad. And, as far as just like the rules of a woman, cleaning, cooking, like, you know what I mean? Just like basic stuff. I didn't have that. I didn't have nurturing capabilities until
she didn't set a good example.
Right. Until I had my child, and I was just like, it changed everything. And two, I see with my child how that was a big fear of mine too. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to explain that to my kid, or if it's going to come up or whatever. But they maintain a relationship with my son, and I can see glimpses back of my past, like my childhood, and how they just didn't get it. Like my dad did. My dad's really great with kids, really great with my kid, but my mom just no. So I've been blessed with, like, my ex-husband's mother took me under her wing. I mean, even after we had been divorced, still let me live with her, and so taught me a lot of lessons. I have my aunt, my mom's sister, totally opposite of my mother, who is somebody that I was able to confide in and, get to learn different things about the world around me, about myself and my feelings, my emotions, and that it's okay that, I'm not feeling okay, or, she would validate my feelings. And because I was so used to, oh, you're just being dramatic, or you're just making that up, or gaslighting. I was gaslit all the time. And really, really, my issues, when I say my issues had issues, like I still have issues. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love therapy though. I go for fun because it's just, Yeah.
So if you could kind of go back in time and, go to yourself at 5 or 6 years old when all this stuff started, and give yourself a piece of advice that you would listen to, like what would you say?
I would say that little voice that you hear and that feeling you get in your stomach, trust it, listen to it. I would say that. And I would also say, don't listen to them. Their opinion of you doesn't matter.
Don't listen to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the bullies and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's none of your business what they think about you, because at the end of the day, it's not. You can't live your life based off of other people's opinions of you. You just can't. Certain opinions of certain people matter, yes. I'm talking people I don't even know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was a fascinating story. Hopefully, some people can learn some things from this, and it gives you a little bit of an insight. But yeah, great. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you so much.
And thanks for tuning in. And until next time, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you in church. Thanks.